Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Bandaras. You know, as a reporter, I've had the opportunity to experience the news firsthand. I've mainly stayed close to home, but some reporters, well, they travel all around the world to bring you the news. And many times, well, they have to leave their family behind in order to go after the story. And with me now is foreign correspondent Scott Heidler. Welcome, Scott. You have spent time in Afghanistan. You are currently in Pakistan. You are all over the place. Why did you choose to leave the United States and cover the news in foreign places?
Well, I grew up traveling. My father worked for an airline, so I've always been on the move since I was 3. So that I knew, regardless of what career I had, travel had to be an aspect to that career. And journalism was a perfect meld of that. I love to write and I love to experience culture, so it was just kind of a nice fit, a perfect fit, actually.
What was it like to leave the United States and know that you were moving? I mean, if you're traveling as a kid, that's one thing, but moving and living in places like Afghanistan, where these are war-torn countries. You're not moving and traveling to the Caribbean here.
Yeah, it's daunting, and it's funny because the first stretch of time I spent overseas, there wasn't a moment where I packed boxes and actually moved over. It was, I went to cover a story for maybe six weeks, 2 months, that ended up being 6 months, that ended up being a year, that ended up being 2 years, and then a next spot. So there wasn't that definitive packing boxes, leaving and going. So it just kind of kept snowballing. But when we moved to Jerusalem, which was maybe 2 moves ago now, that was one of those more traditional moves. And it was a little bit heartbreaking because I have family in Arizona. I have a lot of friends. My wife and I lived in New York for a while. So it was really a tough idea to literally be moving with all of our stuff.
All right, loaded question here. Where's the favorite place, what country that you've lived in and you've covered? And what's it like to be back to the United States? And do you want to move back or do you want to stay overseas?
I'll take the second question first because it's the easier one. Yes, definitely come back to the States. And it's something we've been talking about, that down the line we would definitely need to come back to the States because I miss family too much and friends. As to where, that's really a tough one because we lived in Afghanistan. The conditions were very tough, definitely the toughest by far. Just, electricity, water, all those things.
Toilets. I've heard.
Yes, they're a little bit of a challenge.
I've heard stories.
Too.
I've heard about the holes in the ground.
It's good for the thigh muscles, but and so that was, but the interaction with the local people there, that was the most enchanting because this was about 4 or 5 years ago. So this is right after the first presidential election. So the nation was coming into its own well before we've seen these recent problems. So that was very energizing as a journalist to be there, seeing this rebound, if you will. Jerusalem, I think, as far as the package, if you will, living there, the lifestyle, as well as being a journalist and it being an interesting story, that had it all. I mean, Jerusalem is Jerusalem. It's an amazing city. It doesn't matter what religion you are or how religious you are. It's difficult not to be awestruck by being in Jerusalem. And I went to school in California. Being that close to the Mediterranean, that was cool.
Yeah, that is very, very cool. Well, I commend you, and I'm quite impressed because I have never been to any of these places. So I always like to kind of live vicariously through you by watching you on Fox News. So
come over to Pakistan.
Thank you very much. I would love to. I have a lot of friends who've covered that part of the world, and I would love to be a part of it. I wouldn't move there, though. So you are a brave man. Thank you so much, Scott Heidler, for talking to us. I'm Julie Bandaras. Thanks, everybody, for watching.